Should your vacation home be in your revocable living trust? Well, the answer is yes, and well, maybe. It depends. So this is a really good question because you always hear me talking about getting a revocable living trust centered estate plan. And like always, the videos are always for informational purposes, and you need to talk with your estate planning attorney in the state or jurisdiction that you're in. That's very important, especially when we're talking about putting second homes into your revocable living trust. The key with the revocable living trust is funding the trust, right? You've heard me say that in many, many other videos, that if your trust is not properly funded, in other words, an asset that has a title is not titled in the name of your trust, then that particular asset has to be probated so that a probate court can use your pour-over will to put it back into your trust or into your trust for distribution according to the terms of your trust. Now, the reason you don't want to do that is obvious. You don't want to pay for probate costs, which nowadays are running between $3,500 and $7,000 for probates that go perfectly. And if your heirs start fighting, like I've said in other videos and other posts and other articles, if your heirs are fighting, then it's going to get expensive really quickly. Let's talk about that second home that you bought, maybe in California or Florida or Boston or wherever your second home is. If it's in the United States, then the quick answer is yes. We want to put that second home in the name of your trust. So if you bought a beach house in, say, California or the Carolinas or in Florida someplace or even on the Texas coast, you want to make sure that that vacation home is titled in the name of your trust. Here's what can happen if you don't have that second property in that other state, or it could even be in your state. If you don't have that property, that second home, that vacation home in the name of your revocable living trust, then if it's in another state, then that particular asset, that vacation home is going to most likely have to be probated in that other state. So whatever state you live in where you have your revocable living trust, let's say for this purposes it's Oklahoma, then if you properly funded all of your assets within the state of Oklahoma in the name of your trust, then your heirs are not going to have to go through the probate process, right? Because your successor trustee is just going to step in and gather up all the assets that you have and distribute them according to your wishes. But if you have a vacation home in another state and it's in the name of the trust, then your successor trustee will usually, most likely, depending on the state law, he will be able to take control of that asset in another state and sell it or do whatever they're supposed to do with it according to the terms of your trust, right? But if you leave that particular asset, that vacation home, that beach home in California, out of your trust, then most likely there's going to have to be a probate in California to probate that vacation house. So there could be a huge expense in probating that vacation house in California, Florida, wherever that beach house is, or maybe it's a house in the mountains in Colorado or Utah. Wherever that vacation home is, there's going to have to be an expense to probate it, to get it changed from your name into possibly the name of your trust, or to distribute to your heirs if you don't have a properly written pour-over will. So the bottom line is it is going to be very expensive to probate that other asset in another state when the solution, the very simple and usually a very inexpensive filing fee solution, is while you are still living, that you transfer that vacation home into the name of your trust so that the trust owns it and your successor trustee can step into your shoes and distribute that asset, that vacation home, according to the terms of your trust. Along those same lines, another question we get is, what happens if I have a vacation home in, let's say, Mexico or Costa Rica or whatever other country? You insert the country where you have your vacation home. What happens when you have another piece of property or just real estate? It doesn't have to be a vacation home. What happens when you have real estate in another country that is not the United States of America? In that case, you really, really need to consult with a lawyer in that particular country to see what you need to do in order to make sure that that asset goes to who you want it to go to. I'll say that we have worked with other attorneys in other countries regarding vacation homes that our clients have had, and in most instances, what we have to do is something completely and totally separate from the trust that we created here in the United States. And we don't do any of the paperwork. They do all that paperwork in whatever country, Costa Rica, Mexico, wherever it is. They take care of all the paperwork, but they essentially set up the legal documents for what happens when you pass away to that asset that is in that foreign country. So just don't assume that because you have a trust here in the United States, that trust can legally own property in another country or territory. That country could have very specific rules in the first place on how Americans, United States citizens, are allowed to purchase property, and very specific rules on what happens when an American citizen dies owning property within that foreign jurisdiction. As always, consult with your estate planning attorney in whatever state you're in here in the United States. And if you own a vacation home in another country, first, congratulations. And second, make sure you talk to your estate planning attorney here in the United States and the estate planning attorney in whatever country you have that home in. I know I've thrown a lot at you today, so that's why we've prepared our free guide on estate planning. I'll put a link to it in the description below and in the comment section below that so that you can download it and get started in the right direction. And to help you out even more, watch this video up here and this video up here. If you enjoyed this video, then guys, please smash that subscribe button and click on the like button. And also click on that little bell so you'll get notified every time we post a new video. Have a great day and an awesome week. And as always, thanks for watching.